Tempo Storm has gone from strength to strength in this series, and now they move us on to one final map here. And I have all of these notes, but they really don't mean too much anymore, because ultimately, Tempo Storm could potentially make the reverse sweep happen once again with a 2-day in a row after seeing Fnatic do it so well yesterday.
That last game was Clown Fiesta, let's be real. That was not a clean game on either side. Like, I feel like Tempo Storm won, but we walk away from that game with more questions than we have answers. we walk away from that game saying, is Zeratul, is he worth the priority bans we've been seeing from Tempo Storm? Should Hooligan ever play a new Brock again? You know, that game was just a big mess. It really was.
It was like overextensions from both sides, right? Like the first one was like, you know, see Tempo Storm staying in that top keep, looking to try and fight, they're looking to try and collapse. And then they have that disconnect where Caterpillar goes up, the rest and Jun and Co go to the side. I'm thinking, okay, this is looking good right now for Ballistics. But in Ballistics overchase, go for that kill. They do get it. Then they go for the camp. We're like, what is going on right now, right? So there's a big disconnect between these
Speaking of big misses, I have a replay.
Nice.
As we're heading in. As you can see here, let's take a quick pause. Here is where we have a fantastic setup, actually, for Tempo Storm. They've managed to get a really good move here with a nice Purification Salvo. VP has already been used here. Cocoon has already post-burst. Let's play it forward here. But here's where our concerns over Tempo Storm's comp do come into effect. The Salvo does not get the kill, and the protection for Sam is not enough. Jongher and SCSC do exactly what they were supposed to do and dive past. But here we see where Tempo Storm's draft and the target calling became a disadvantage. Glaurung was distracting Muggy, so the healing was not coming in for the rest of the members of Ballistics, and by that point, because of the shot calling and the targeting by Ballistics, Tempo Storm are able to take a fight that, after taking down Phoenix, they maybe could have disengaged from.
Let's find where we're going to be going to for the last battleground. It's been narrowed down to, well, basically, very few options at this point.
Tomb and Sky Temple, right?
Infernal. We've got Infernal Shrines listed.
Oh, Infernal, that's right.
Infernal Shrines.
I was going to say that if Ballistics don't opt for the map pick, we're going to see Infernal Shrines coming out here, because this is the tiebreaker map that, once again, Tempo Storm look pretty dominant on.
And once again, it's forced Ballistics wants first pick. So very interesting choices coming into this, just allowing Tempo Storm to have the, not home turf advantage, I suppose, but just where they want to go to, which is a nice little option for them.
So here is something that is very, I would like to ask you guys about, in fact. Is it at this point worth banning out Glaurung's Dahaka? Because so far, basically every Tempo Storm draft up to this point has lent so heavily on that global soak potential.
I don't think so. I think that banning the Maiev is still more correct, given the Tempo's playstyle. If they get ahead, the Dahaka becomes more and more terrifying, right? I'd rather see Ballistics play around that fact, try to either counter with their own global, or just try to avoid fighting in general, even be willing to give up some early camps without fighting for them, because that's where Tempo excels. So I still think the Maiev ban here, in terms of first bans and ban priority, is necessary. Could they draft it themselves early? I think the answer is possibly. The problem with drafting it early themselves to take it away from Glaurung is that then we're going to see Tempo Storm go into that same DPS choke that we saw. They'll be able to get the Hanzo, and things can kind of sort of fall apart from there.
I mean, at this point in the tournament, we're in a situation where Ballistics against Tempo Storm is 2-5, which, to be fair, across the entire tournament is a very, very big factor coming into our final game here, where there's so much pressure on a team like Ballistics. They've thrived in threatening situations in the past, but I feel like this tournament's a little bit different.
I feel like especially when you're up there on the stage, it's a very different story, and you're getting so close to trying to do the reverse of what happened in that group stage. But the same could apply for Tempo Storm right there. Very much on that high adrenaline, looking to keep their tournament alive, and now we get to game number 5. Both of these teams very emotionally driven. It's going to really come down to this draft to sort of push forward their agenda.
Let's kind of take a step back a second, though, because as much as, yes, it was a big feat for North America to defeat Ballistics in the group stages, what would it mean to Tempo Storm to defeat them on a stage like this?
Well, I think it's definitely an amazing moment for North America, right? They made it this far. They're going to defeat Ballistics. It wasn't, and this looks like a Ballistics that's a little bit underperforming, you could argue, but it's not as underperforming as when North America defeated Korea last year at BlizzCon, where Tempest was really underperforming. They were role swapping. Some of the drafts people were saying, is this even a real draft? You know, what's going on? Right immediately after that loss, Hong Kong announces his retirement. I think for when Roll20 did that last year for North America, people were excited, people were hyped. It was the first time it happened since DK was defeated by Cloud9. But I feel like this is much more impressive. This is defeating Ballistics. This is defeating Ballistics that's, sure, not looking elite, but still in decent form.
Yeah.
And keeping the hope of North America alive. One thing I think is missing for Ballistics, and I want to kind of continue on this emotional track we're talking about here, because both these teams look to be very emotional, very momentum-based, is they don't have Noblesse anymore to kind of be the backbone of the squad. Something that really shows in Gen G now that Noblesse is their coach. And they don't have Nacho Gen. These two players that, for Ballistics, have always been the backbones, have always been the players that kind of bring things back to reality. We talk about how this team has started off weak in tournaments, then finished strong, won titles, but that was with different rosters. And Magi, you know, he's a little bit new to the international scene, hasn't been performing as well. Hooligan's been having an off tournament, especially with this Anubarak, which has been a problem for this tournament and the Eastern Clash. And I think that, you know, we talk about how emotional this team is, how much they be yelling in comms. I feel like when things start to go bad for the squad, there's no sort of anchor for the roster, and I think that's why they're really struggling when they are having these bad fights, etc.
Yeah, and you are the person who would be the person to ask about this, casting them every single week. How much are Ballistics a potentially momentum-driven team, for example?
Before we get to that, let's get into the draft for game number 5. It's 2-2 at the moment. The winner will advance on, the loser is eliminated. It's a big moment here for North America. It's a big moment for South Korea as well, who want to take this victory after showing dominant performances in previous tournaments.
It's interesting you asked that question, though, Tetra, because in regular season, Ballistics is usually at the top of the lineup, right? When they're L5, they're at the top of the standings. They go undefeated last year, right? They have, most of their wins are 3-0s. So even in that regard, they've lost very few maps. So it's tough to call them a momentum-based team, but it is, I think, important to note that very few times in Ballistics' career, or as L5, did they go into series where they were considered the favorite going down 0-2, or starting a series off strong, losing that third map, and then having some trouble in the fourth map. They're a team that's so dominant so often that when now the pressure's on you, everyone's cheering against you, and you start off 2-0, you lose 2 maps in a row, that's when you start to feel like, oh no, this is an unusual situation for us. This is out of our comfort zone.
Speaking of comfort zones, the Garrosh returns. No more Anubaraks this time. Straight back into usual territory here for Ballistics.
I think what's interesting, we've been talking about how Tempo Storm have been getting targeted in that second rotation ban for that Jaina. But now it almost feels that the switch has been flipped, and Tempo Storm have cracked the idea of, hey, we can just target SC, take away 2 comfort picks for him, try and force him into the ideas of something like a Tracer, underperform on that, and just draft Johanna very early on. Johanna obviously pairing fantastically into the Garrosh with the Iron Skin and the Wave Clear, which is obviously a priority for this map. So it feels like Tempo Storm are coming back slowly but surely.
No Dahaka this time. Going in for the Blaze, a little bit better on the Shrines, at least. So going for that instead. And of course the self-protection, which means it does actually open the strategy for Tempo to maybe go into that Genji pick once again, try and limit the assassins of SCSE if he is not prioritized immediately.
Yeah, I think that's something that they should really consider grabbing right here with the Uther pick that we saw previously. When they did do it with Sonya, and not the Garrosh, but and that was a different draft entirely, right, with the Anubarak coming through. I think that they can make the same style of draft work better with the Garrosh on this battleground. The Blaze burst is going to be somewhat of a problem for Genji in some of the team fights, but if they can find other ways, like Garrosh, for example, to force the bunker out early, then you can have the finishing blows come through, where you have that Divine Shield dropped onto the Genji, and it allows SC to really get into the background and really force the issue.
Yeah, I'm pretty glad they actually didn't ban away that. I feel like it would have been a big bait. Blaze did a lot of work for them when they had that tie-breaking game, but it's still going to bring it back pretty old school. We've seen a bit of a choke on towards SC, and he's going to decide, look, it's just my time to shine. I'm just going to pick up my carry in this rotation. And if anybody, I mean, I said it once, right, up against Genji, if there's anybody in the world that can try and make a Valor Oriole comp work, it is this man here.
What a way to kind of potentially go through or go out. SC falls back onto Valor.
But they've only done it in this tournament once, and it did fail. That is the point. They have been holding this. They are putting their lives in this tournament on the Valor Oriole. Like you said, it is SCSC. We can never forget that fact.
That's right.
It so far has been dealt with.
You know, the time where Ballistics ran this composition the most was Mid-Season Brawl 2017. They ran it a lot. We saw it then in regular season for Phase 2. and it's a comfort pick for Ballistics. We've been talking a lot about Tempo Storm. They like this battleground. This is their comfort. They like this initiation comp. We haven't talked about stylistically where Ballistics goes when they're uncomfortable. They go to this, but I don't think this is strong. This feels desperate, and that makes me worried not only for this draft, but for the mentality of Ballistics. Sure, they could take away the Johanna here. They could make this Vala pick stronger in that way, but I am so concerned for Ballistics now. They've left open the Jaina as well, for example, in this case, and feels like it's been a while since we've seen it, but it's very much open here. I think this is a huge mistake by Ballistics.
So Jaina plus probably Muradin as support, unless they want to go for something global. They could, in theory. No, Jaina is abandoned. We're going for the very similar draft to last time, replacing Dahaka with Blaze.
Let's take a step back and think why they would go Johanna over Jaina. It's still pretty good when you're going up against Vala, right? Condemn is annoying for Vala, Blind is annoying for Vala, so it's understandable why they would go for that ban, admittedly.
I feel like it goes full circle, though, in this draft, where you're talking about the mentality of these teams and, you know, exactly how much it means. We talked about maybe Tempo Storm valuing that Jaina in such a high priority, but now Ballistics, on the other hand, saying we need to lock in our carry in such a early position. They've experienced the Johanna up against an auto-attack carry in Tracer earlier in this series. It proved to be a deciding factor. Yes, Tracer, or SC on that Tracer, left a lot left to be desired, but this is a comfort pick. You begged the question before about it not being successful. It was against Gen G, so you can't really take too much away from them because they are the best in the world currently, as we've seen in this tournament. But I like the Tessadar to complement the Phoenix. It's done work so far, and it's going to be a deny.
Yeah, you called it. You hit the nail right on the head there. And this is very similar to the draft last time, but it is more impactful in the fact it is a denial. Now Ballistics, though, what do you do when your Tassadar's gone? You pick Medivh or you pick Zarya, and it's going to be Ballistics with the Zarya this time.
More what I was referring to with the Johanna ban is I think you couldn't do that after you pick the Vala Ariel. If you do something like a Tracer, I think it's a lot better. Because Tempo Storm went into the Phoenix and the Tassadar here, I think the Zarya pick doesn't feel as desperate anymore, that we've gone all the way back to, we can look at the full picture of the draft, because we saw them run a very similar composition when they were facing off against Gen G, right? Where it was the protect the Vala composition, something that happens a lot in Korea versus Korea matches, not only in this tournament, but of course in HGC Korea regular season. This also has insanely good pushing power, so now Tempo Storm has to think a lot about the Blaze pick that they got earlier. It's no longer as effective here, and it was to counter burst, it was to counter hard engage, and Ballistics just did not go down that route.
But to come back to what you said about the Valor at the very beginning, I feel like this should be a Diablo, by the way, personally. But like, beyond that, this feels very old school versus new school meta. This is Ballistics saying, we've tried everything else. We need to go back to where we were strong in an older era, and we're going to bring that to the forefront here to try and put everything online.
It's basically just saying straight up, mechanically, I'm better than you if I can play something I'm comfortable with, so I am just going to play my older style, even though it's less relevant today. I'm the better team. I can beat you when I'm playing my favorite heroes.
Thoughts? Predictions as well?
Thoughts and predictions are, this is basically the same draft from Tempo Storm, just with a hero that I would argue is better on this map. And Zarya, the Valor Ariel, is a little bit out of favor. There's no cleanse against that CC. I'm going to go with Tempo Storm. I flip-flopped all the way back again.
Nice.
This is one of the hardest predictions for me for the whole tournament, to be honest. But I think I'm actually going to have to go with Tempo Storm. I think this draft is more relevant today, and I think it's stronger. I'm gonna give Tempo Storm the win here on Game 5.
I see where this is going.
When Ballistics drafted this up against Gen G, a very, very similar composition, but they had very squishy tanks in that regard. They got the Garrosh, they got the Yorick. I feel like all those resources can be put into SC. I'm sticking with Ballistics.
Ooh, okay. And I've bet Ballistics the entire series, and it's time to change. The momentum has shifted, ladies and gentlemen. Tempo Storm looks good. Let's see if they can do it with this draft. Let's see what Twitch chat thinks. Actually, we already know before we even go to it.
Yeah, it's going to be savage.
Oh, 73% believes Tempo Storm. Can they get the reverse sweep here after another day here for the mid-season brawl? It's a big one. We're going to head over to our commentators once again. Gentlemen, do you think the reverse sweep is in the cards?
You can feel it in the air right now. I don't know about you, Dreadnought, but it definitely feels in Tempo's favor.
So mid-season brawl magic, ladies and gentlemen. It is a miracle, because keep in mind, Ballistics has never placed below 4th. This is 5th, 6th. That is what defines that. This is Heroes of the Storm history is being made in this series. This is insane.
Yeah, it definitely is. Well, it's all on the line. Have fun with it, boys.
Dread, this is also the same battleground, that tiebreaker on who the placement.
Yeah.
This was the same battleground it happened on.
It is poetic justice here. I feel like everything going full circle as we are about to figure it out here. Who will in fact be sent home in this series? Turns out somehow J-Hal got muted, so we're gonna start here in the blue, ladies and gentlemen. It is Ballistics, where we have Hooligan on that Garrosh SC playing Vala. Ariel will be played by Magi, Jung Ha on Leoric, and SDE on Zarya. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Ballistics!
On the other side, in red, is going to be that of Tempo Storm, taking the last 2 games, sending us to this conclusive game number 5. It will be Glaurung on Blaze, June on Malfurion, Psalm on Phoenix, Fan on Tassadar, Caterpillar on Diablo. Give it up for Tempo Storm.
Momentum behind Tempo Storm, the crowd sitting behind Tempo Storm, but a world champion on the other side of the battlefield. One of the most impressive rosters that Competitive Heroes has seen in a long while, but North America with their climb, do they have what it takes to kind of leave their stamp, not only on Mid-Season Brawl, but again, our performances when looking at international tournaments?
I was really curious if we would see Ballistics maybe try and use that Zarya Ariel to push down one of the lanes the way that we would have seen a Vala composition last year do. Instead, they're going to play safe. Early rotations between mid-bot. That's all that's required. Blaze even coming down, trying to give a little bit of help there for that clear, because they know the clear advantage Tassadar does scale up eventually, trying to complete his quest. Phoenix got a little bit of clear, but you can see the priority controlling the rotations for Tempo Storm already.
One thing we have to look at is got to be the level 1 for Zarya. Every time we see a Zarya, I will bring it up when we see this. It's Feel the Heat. And this is, in my opinion, you know, one of the, a majority of the time you pick a Zarya, I feel like Feel the Heat has to be the go-to. It is a ridiculous amount of damage in the amount of sustain that they have in this composition for Ariel to sit at that high energy bar and just constantly everybody to death. It is so satisfying. And one hero who loves to remain idle whenever sitting using his heroic is a Lightning Breath. Zarya goes, thanks for the shields. I'm going to burn this devil down.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why you and I, before in the middle of that draft, were like, is this time where we see APOC? Maybe APOC out of the Crystal Aegis, maybe APOC to try and deal with that Zarya, because as you said, that Lightning Breath will contribute a lot of energy, as will the Psy Storms, which if you're Zarya, you want that predictable damage to be able to sit in. You can see SD barely any energy at all in any normal circumstance.
And we also have to raise kind of, with how much long sustained team fighting the composition that Ballistics has, it is amazing in the long run with so much shielding and cross healing with the battery of that Vala. But it kind of raised the question, you and I were talking about it a little bit into the draft. It's one of the few cases where we look at this and go, there might be a world of APOC purely based on the burst capabilities to make sure they get a lockdown. Zarya's Aegis typically struggles with the kind of territorial, you know, forcing you stuck in an area for a period of time. It'll be interesting if we see that adjustment. I'm not necessarily predicting it, but it is one of the cases where I very much look at this thing and go, I might like to see that adjustment, especially now that we know Feel the Heat's picked up.
Well, we see both teams splitting off towards their respective shaman camps. Of course, with that shrine in the top lane, doesn't get near as much value, but does grab you a little bit of control. And we've seen teams at times, Dreadnought, whenever they have a little bit of control in that top lane, they control the positioning. They're able to grab some of those skeletal defenders on the backside of things and get a lead and make it difficult for the other team. We'll see how that plays out here as first shrine underway.
Already 8 skeletal defenders for Ballistics. Very good at controlling fights over these tight corridors, so much so that Tempo Storm not giving any interest to it, already making the rotation to the bottom half with the Phoenix, some of the best siege that they have in their composition to make sure they can get some split damage here. So a very common rotation whenever you do not feel like you can go toe-to-toe over the first skeletal defenders in Shrine phase here, but it's really how much does Ballistics get out of it, because Korea is hands down the best region at capitalizing on punishers compared to all other parts of the world.
Well, you can see Leoric doing his job to clear. Hooligan responded to the bottom, and no towers down yet. I wonder if Tempo Storm feels the necessity to at least take one before they rotate out, because now that Punisher is spawning here for Ballistics, a calculated approach here for Tempo Storm. SDE, however, finds himself in the middle of battle.
He's able to make it out. Vala still joined with that Punisher. Got a lot of siege capabilities there on the top half. Tempo's still not in position to be able to get the defense that they would like. That is a lot of free damage. And did I highlight the fact that Feel the Heat also works on structures, J-How? And there is no energy at this point in time, but that's something else to consider. A lot of siege there in this composition. The defense for Tempo with a 1-4 split. is going to be just fine. Hooligan looking for some kind of capitalization as we got that Punisher leap in a second. Cattle, though, it's going to be just fine.
I don't think they're going to be able to get the fort here. They're going to go ahead and back out, but he's trying to get the well, at least snipe it on the way out. SC unwilling to commit, knowing that there's times you can take risk, Dreadnought, to get a small incremental value, and then there's times in the game number 5 where your tournament life is on the line and you're saying, you know what, I'll let that stay, we'll get it later.
One thing, yeah, and that's one of the things that we watched Dignitas versus Gen G specifically we have to highlight is how effective they were with the rotations in the mid game to catch up in experience. That is experience on reserve for Ballistics at any point if they feel like they have found themselves down where they're able to kind of get that recovery in the mid to late game. You know, the next shrine going to be spawning over mid, so not too much concern, at least when it comes to the split push or the macro that's going to unfold. And Tempo Storm seem to be, you know, very patient here, awaiting their heroics. So the composition doesn't have the best kill potential into the earlier stages, and more importantly, Ballistics' composition is amazing at literally all points of the game, starting as early as level 1.
Right now, we see Ballistics sieging up in the mid lane. The camp cleared out on the side of Tempo Storm. Tempo Storm going to return the favor here as they turn their attention towards that Impaler camp. Small, minor lead here for Tempo Storm, but we're going to be pretty much dead even, Dreadnought. Next shrine phase will be at the bottom. In the middle, so we'll keep an eye on those shrine camps coming up, or the shaman camps coming up, and how they play around this. But as you can see, rotation down. Glaurung's already here. Leo on the way down as well. I think for Ballistics, they're just going to concede.
Yeah, it's one of those, you know, it'd be nice if we get an optimal initiation, but really without anything, you know, too major. Why risk a game and a momentum swing for Tempo Storm over just a camp there? Tempo might be able to make a little bit happen, especially with the siege they were able to get in that downtime in that bottom lane. Might accent that a little bit. But for now, slow and steady between these two teams. And I can't help but feel like that's going to change very quickly now that Heroics are here and we got a shrine coming up very soon.
Well, we'll see how the Lightning Breath works because it was picked up. No APOC here. And in return, we also have Rain of Vengeance, and that could be a potential huge response towards that front line of a Diablo, the expulsion zone, the feel the heat, which if you have that shield, when that Lightning Breath comes out, you will stack up rapidly. So I'd be a little bit surprised if we don't see Tranquility, but we're going to wait with 3 melee on the other side. Maybe Twilight Dream is going to be the pick for June.
In the past, whenever this composition, you know, because we heard Wolf and the rest of the analysts has break down how outdated this composition is, the original response was not to match it and sustain. You have to be able to AoE crowd control and be able to just get that burst one shot. So with that in mind, but we need to keep in mind as well, Tranquility's been buffed quite significantly since then. But originally the idea was to be able to get the lockdown so the cross-sustain from all the heroes on Ballistics do not get the effective value that they would like. In this case, I lean towards Tranquility because the Tassadar mixed with Phoenix in the long run and Lightning Breath, that sustain is still going to be able to match Ballistics pretty well. But to be honest, it's a tough question.
Well, that question's about to be answered, Dread, because now the Shrine phase underway. Hooligan's starting to move forward on that front line, as is Jiangha, who does have that into him. Got to be very careful. Psalm does have mobility, but can be locked down. Several members go in. Nature's Cure, I believe, was just used there, Dread.
Tempo needs to be careful in that choke, though. Actually, Jet Propulsion going to move forward. Bunker already laid down along with the salvo. Tempo is going to go ahead and zone out Ballistics. Normally, you would show concern, but this is going to be one major energy bar, stack up for the heals, and suddenly Ballistics gain control. 20 skeletal defenders to the 12 there. There goes the Entomb. Lightning Breath is going to be the response, but the Detainment Strike actually getting a lot of damage there. Cattle is unable to make it out. Rain of Vengeance now locking down Glaurung as he gets tossed around here, and Ballistics gain not only first blood, but a 2-for-1 trade.
Dread, that Zarya sitting on that energy is just so terrifying, and that is just such a difficult thing. If you don't have the other heroics there, then clearly there's going to be some issues.
Shaman now being dealt with on the top half. Now, that means the Ballistics is not only winning when it comes to the siege on the top, but this Punisher over the middle half as well. Tempo in a very difficult position at this point in time. A lot of momentum and experience going to be gained here for Ballistics. I respect the attempt to zone out of that first shrine that we saw from Tempo Storm, but this composition on Ballistics, it wins the sustain fight. I talked about, you know, it loves to be able to re-initiate and kind of go, collect yourself, heal up. Now we're back to ready to make that happen. In Tempo Storm, if they had done that and gotten more skill to defenders, possibly they could have gotten away with that play. Might be something that, you know, they adjust on how they approach in the fights moving forward. But for now, Fan possibly going to get caught out. Early dimensional shift, but he's going to make it out.
Hey, juked the right way there as Hooligan was trying to find him on the way back. But now with the minions down, Will be an opportunity for Tempo Storm to hold their ground. They do find themselves about a level down right now. Looks like Ballistics is going to take advantage of that talent here advantage, move in. Cattle just going to sniff out, seeing if they are there. He will indeed find out that, hey, this is not so where we want to be.
With that camp, it's only going to buy a little bit of time in the off lane pressure. It's going to buy a lot for Jungha in the top lane to get more siege damage onto that fort, which once that fort ends up going down, keep in mind that top shrine is going to gain that much more value if Ballistics gain it for themselves. To be honest, Jay, I feel like that breaking point of this match is going to rely around that initiation, and if Tempo Storm is unable to identify what they need to do to be able to approach team fights against Ballistics here, we might be looking at, again, Ballistics holding their own and keeping their, kind of credibility here alive, so remaining one of the best teams in the world since the beginning of competitive Heroes of the Storm.
Yeah, in 16 tier, we'll see when this does spawn, as we can see the jet propulsion there, getting a little bit of oil. Glaurung getting some heals. Now we see the rotation up here by Ballistics, very aggressively moving forward, maybe looking for Glaurung, but at the same time, Tempo Storm starting to make their way up as well. We might have a fight. Minions are here. There's going to be the jet propulsion. Buys a little bit of time. Fort's going to be here. Do we have the re-engage?
They're trying to get the collapse. Tassadar is not necessarily the best playing target, but Cattle gets the Taming Strike away. Lightning Breath is going to be able to slow them down. We get the Archon, the jet propulsion. Tempo Storm is going to drop the salvo. They're trying to bring the fight. Rain of Vengeance, it buys a little bit of time. There goes the Entomb. Cattle goes ahead and flips over Jungha. Nobody going down yet. And Tempo enter the bunker.
They're entering the bunker, but they're exiting just as quickly as Hooligan does get the shield there from Zarya. Walks away. No takedowns there in that brawl.
And now I want to bring this back to the compositions. Tempo cannot win the next skirmish. With all their heroics being used in that type of circumstance, if they gain nothing, the odds of them winning a fight is very, very low. Not only because Ballistics not only not use all of their heroics, but the default kits of this composition by Ballistics, it never lets up. That's why I said at all points of the game, it has that threat and that lethality, not only to sieging, but to heroes itself. So Tempo Storm, that is a very big setback, though it didn't really cost them anything.
Right now, I think for Tempo Dread, with that threat of 16, they can use the Shaman Camp to buy a little bit of time to get a rotation down either mid or bottom to get some experience back through the structures. But let's see if Ballistics is able to recognize that, because they're getting a camp of their own. If they see that, look for Ballistics to potentially just respond in kind, push down that top lane, and as you mentioned earlier with just the fort falling, now enable this Punisher even more, because if they can get that wave down, they can get the keep wall down. We're looking at keep and potentially more. So we see the Entomb going to be there, buy a little bit of time, but as I said, Tempo Storm now rotating to the bottom to push, to get value out of the structures. What is Ballistics' response?
It's going to be just give them the heat. It's going to be a lot of damage onto that top keep here, and though you can respect the decision making here for Tempo Storm, the amount of damage Ballistics is going to get here on the top lane is colossal. This is a very big setback for North America and Ballistics to keep their dream alive here at the Mid-Season Brawl. As you see the siege happening, keep front wall immediately going to be dealt with. There's going to be damage onto the keep here, Jayhow.
It's going to be a massive amount because Zarya full on energy. Minions are going to make their way in here in a moment. And now the keep starting to fall at half health. Tempo Storm getting close to 16, but Dread, I did not expect Tempo Storm to relent this much of their keep, because now this Punisher is a guaranteed keep. And if it goes any bit the wrong way for Tempo Storm, could be GG's lights out.
One of the silver linings is that at least Tempo Storm has been able to recover all the heroics that we haven't seen Ballistics, at least threaten lethal within this game in that downtime when we saw those heroics go back. So there is a moment to be able to win this skirmish. Phoenix actually showing himself still on bottom, getting that last wave available, but yes, he does have to get back, as you've highlighted here. It's got to be the keep, and Tempo Storm has their last stand, diving past it, trying to bait it towards mid as best they can, but I can't help but feel like Ballistics has a very different kind of tail in mind. Flip, going to be worn on the minion. Punisher leaps in there, Entomb immediately followed up with the taunt. June drops the Tranquility.
Now they're saving their lives for now, but there's going to be another jump. They can't clump. Keep is fallen. Punisher still at 75%. They've got to get it over. It's going to jump here in just a moment. There's going to be the jump into mid, but Cattle is trying to survive, gets the devastating charge, hops into the bunker. He's alive for now and surviving, and it looks like Tempo Storm might hold on.
The leap going to be back up in a second. Cattle and friends, though, are holding on, and the distraction towards mid seems to be enough. Fan, dimensional shift away. He might be able to survive. Hooligan looking to get the taunt, but he won't be able to do so. Ballistics has made their way to the core, but they haven't got enough out of it. And Tempo Storm, now they want something here. They want to initiate. They drop the Lightning Breath to buy the time. June looking to move up. hit a massive root, but keep in mind, Ballistics don't need heroics in a team fight. They love to be able to quarrel and skirmish without those. Tempo, understand the circumstances here, not willing to move much past their base, but Tempo Storm hold on here to game 5.
You could see, though, with this shield talent at 16, Zarya now able to shield 2 people and herself. So that shield ally doubling up, and Cattle popped that lightning breath, and shields went up, and that lightning breath went down. That is the difference. As you said, they don't need their heroics. That is a 60-second heroic for a very short cooldown on that shield. So, again, for Ballistics, definitely the clear advantage with no APOC.
Looking at the next couple of minutes, Tempo Storm does not have any global or any major, kind of offlaner that you traditionally want. Blaze will do his best to get that kind of clear on the top half of the battleground, but again, can't get that kind of brush stock in to secure the fight over this next shrine. And Ballistics is going to be able to siege on the bottom half of the map here, again, because of these catapults. If they get this fort, furthering their race to 20, Tempo Storm is on an absolute timer here in this game. And the last time we saw them put under that amount of pressure, it put them in a position to, again, force the initiation. Ballistics kept their cool, recollected themselves, used the advantages of their composition, and forced back for a victory.
You've seen that Psionic Echo as the Psy Storm, of course, was completed, so that does allow a significant amount of clear here for Fan. And now, as you said, that timer, they recognize it, trying to see if they can find an engage. Unable to do so, see if they try and find the invade. Level 20 will not be far off if they wait for the next Shrine Phase Dread.
Which is why we see Tempo just sharking around, trying to be as aggressive as they can. They know the Shaman Camp has to be the focal point here for Ballistics. Do they want to try and attempt an invade? It looks like for now looking to just mirror the pressure. Shamans are a little bit different now that the top keep is down. They enable the catapults to make it to the core quicker, but they don't really get any siege damage themselves onto the core. So in theory, if Tempo can somehow get a laning mismatch and maybe get the clear onto the Shaman itself, they might be able to stall out the catapult pressure a little bit, but it's not that standard, oh, here's a giant camp, and doesn't have the same fear we normally have when looking at Shamans.
I think it's also another opportunity here for Tempo Storm, because the quickest way to get back into the game is going to be via structures.
Really
if they can clear this up, then they can rotate to that top lane to get structures, but Ballistics knows that, which is why they've sent their team down to that bot lane. They're gonna secure that fort, and again, further that race towards 20, and they know that multiple people are gonna show up there where they're contemplating going in for the bot keep wall. They know they've got 20 right around the corner. They're gonna have another Punisher at their side. Let's see what Tempo Storm can do in response.
For now, playing a little bit safer here. Zhonghan front sniffing up above, wondering if Tempo Storm is going to overstep their bounds. But they aren't doing so. 7 skeletal defenders already achieved. The Shaman will be pressuring for Tempo, but again with the catapults, it's just stalling out the pressure towards their core. Tempo is not going to show any interest over this middle Punisher, and instead just look for the 20, look for the defense over their mid keep. It will be able to be baited down to that bottom keep if Tempo Storm would like, but so far, J-How, we have yet to see Tempo Storm actually take a full 5-on-5 minus that first shrine phase, or second shrine phase, excuse me, where they got the original initiation. And I can't help but feel like that's one of those kind of moments where we're truly going to see, does the composition of Tempo Storm have what it takes here? Because without that top keep, it's a lot less convenient on dealing with this Punisher.
20 should be here with the next minion wave. Now they've just got to bait this over. Zhongha going to be a little bit slow. He can't lock the Entomb down. They need to get this over, but with the wall down, look for Hooligan to find an opportunity. Nature's Cure is going to be used. There's the first bait. They still have another one to go. 20, no, still 20. Not yet here. No Infinite Archon yet. You got to wait for that before you can start to pop it. That's why he's waiting, sitting on it. The bait should come in just a moment. Try to see if Ballistics can follow up.
There's the leap over. 20 achieved here for Tempo Storm. Lightning Breath is going to drop here along with the salvo. Zhongha seems to be the focus for Tempo Storm, but nobody going down quite yet here. Tempo holding their own. Ballistics routing themselves back here. Able to get the heals. Cattle ends up shadow charging out. 3-man jet propulsion coming out from Glorong. Tempo Storm wants this fight. They want to be able to try and turn this game, but I don't know if they'll do so. Zhongha falls low, but Magi there with the 20 upgrade, holding his own. Jet propulsion number 2. Flip over onto Magi, forcing the Aegis, and Magi is going to go down here. The question is, how much does Tempo gain beyond that point?
They've got to do a lot with it, Dreadnought. And
They have
right
to go
now,
bottom.
Yeah, the bottom keep has to be priority target. There is no support, but there is a Zarya. We'll see if they can make something happen. Instead, it looks like Tempo Storm, they're going to try and open this map up a little bit, relieve some of the pressure. I think they're going to double camp, potentially mid, and then rotate towards that bottom. I just can't help but feel that this might be a little bit slow in terms of what I expected.
But Fan was able to keep alive the Infinite Archon through the entirety of that camp. He will be able to get the siege on mid, and again, this is an interesting moment for Tempo Storm. It is going to gain them a little bit when it comes to control over the map itself, but not having that catapult pressure, split pushing on the opposite side of the advantages of Ballistics might be something that they would want for themselves over that next Shrine phase.
Tread, I go back to BlizzCon where I was in a very similar situation of watching a Dignitas game and there was an Infinite Archon on the other side and they were down 19-20. They knew the desperation was there because the backdoor, that was the old Morales comp. And right now with Infinite Archon and the camps, the double camp here, they're going to pressure in, minimum keep Ariel spawning now, but can they try and make more happen?
Yeah, and keep in mind that this fight has to last forever for Tempo Storm. What does Ballistics composition do? Sustain for years on years. Tempo needs to get a crowd control one shot if they have any chance of holding on here. Entomb with the Buried Alive going to be used onto Blaze. Tranquility drop. Cattle actually buys time. That gains nothing here for Ballistics so far. And Tempo keeping up the siege, dropping the Lightning Breath, forcing Jungha to follow up on that Wraith Walk. And Tempo Storm gets their first keep of this game.
But how long do they stay? There are catapults that will be mounted in that top line. They're going in. They're going in right now with the Infinite Archon. They're holding ground. They're waiting for the next wave of minions. They'll be here in a moment. They get the flip. They get the root. Indomitable was used. Gets out of danger for now, but Trent, they are still sieging.
They're still sieging, but as you said, those 3 catapults are going to be damaging the core. Tempo does not have a lot of time. 20-minute catapults are a lot of damage here for Tempo, and now they identify that. They're trying to retreat. Groundbreaker interrupting the jet propulsion. Jungha 6 seconds away from a Wraith Walk and a Buried Alive. Salvo is going to deter them, but there we see the Wraith Walk. Get ready, ladies and gentlemen, because this might be a massive Entomb play. There it goes on to Cattle. He's going to be the focus. Bunker down. He gets in and things are fine. Tempo now losing core damage here. 80 and counting.
They're trying to get out of here. The dismounts from Fan. They've got to get somebody back right now to defend as the shields are gone. Phoenix is there. Catapults cleared up, but the damage is done. The good thing for Tempo Storm, Dreadnought, is they got the middle keep down. It neutralizes catapults there, and the next shrine is going to be top, which means they can respond to the catapults easier. We are going to come down to one team fight or one pick.
But I can, want to raise a little bit of a counter moment here, is with the amount of pressure that Ballistics has, is they don't have to all in on that shrine if they wouldn't like. They have enough pressure at other points of the battleground that it's kind of the world is theirs, whether or not they want to cater to the skirmish that Tempo Storm desires here over that top shrine.
Archon is still going.
Yeah, it's actually one of the more impressive Archon timings I've ever seen. 2 seconds out from the shrine, and as we said, the pressure on bottom, but Tempo doesn't care at this point. This is their Hail Mary play.
Well, they're keeping it behind this Infinite Archon of Fan. He's got to have something to attack. They're going to activate the shrine, keeping him there. Jungha is here on that Leoric. Look for the big Entomb if he can find it. There's going to be the jet propulsion the devastating charge. Cattle keeping them at. Fan, however, starting to work away at this shrine.
It's going to be poking and prodding here. Hooligan looking for a major play. We have all heroics available for both sides here. Pressure still on the bottom, and now Jungha actually getting that pressure to the mid lane. As I said, they kind of dictate the rotations over this game as they are now trying to get that catapult pressure, demanding respect for Tempo Storm to go back. Garung is going to be the only man to make that transition. So now a 4 versus 4 here into the top lane, and Ballistics, no, they're going to try and make it happen. No Entomb, no Buried Alive, but they get the isolation on the Fan. Detainment strike in, Dimensional Shift is not going to be there, and Hooligan and friends get the pick. Ballistics, a major upper hand here.
Buried Alive is locked in member, but Bunker in response, and now we see the assault continue, and Resalvo in return as we see Jungha going in deep, somehow still alive, should still have that shield available to him, but this is the infinite sustain you mentioned as Ballistics starting to run down here against Tempo Storm.
Tempo Storm end up only losing the Tacit 40 seconds until they get that back. They're trying to pressure out Magi, thinking he might be out too far, but Jungha threatens with that Wraith Walk, and it is enough to scare Tempo Storm. Still pressure building here in the mid lane with those catapults, eventually going to demand Tempo Storm to maybe draw back here as that camp on bottoms have gotten through the keep front wall, now working onto the keep. But Tempo Storm, this is the only fight that they can get. They need to be able to win this skirmish, even down a member on Fan.
Still 15 seconds away for Tassadar, and right now Ballistics, if they get this Punisher, Dreadnought, it is game over. There is no way to survive this unless they can get a fight behind it, and even then, it would be way too much to overcome. Tempo Storm holding their ground, trying to clear out a little bit. Expulsion zone's going to be used. There's going to be the Buried Alive, and it baits in, but
he
Bunker
gets in the
goes
bunker.
down.
They get into the bunker. Things are going to be fine for
Tassadar is
now.
back, Dread. Tassadar is back.
But he's not into the fight yet. Tempo Storm now has skeletal defender advantage. But ladies and gentlemen, this is a lose-lose scenario, or not a lose-lose, but if Ballistics gets this game, whereas Tempo Storm still has a lot to prove here, they're gonna start here as they get the initiation there. Indomitable use, Salvo gonna lock down 5 members. Lightning Breath zoning back Ballistics, but this is what they want to have happen. Into the fray, buying the time. Moggy using his 20, something he may need here for the next skirmish. Tempo Storm back out, looks to lock in this Punisher.
The Punisher again, the reason Ballistics has not had the same desperation is because they have a fort at their back. To defend against this, it will only do so much. You can give that up the entire time. That camp at the bottom has done so much. We might see Ballistics, they're pushing out the catapults mid. They are late enough into this game with that shielding, with the shield from Ariel, they could potentially feint a back door. I think they're trying to feint it right now. They're going in, maybe they try and go. They're backing for now. They're gonna fake it. If they have an opportunity, they're gonna cancel. Looks like they're going full back.
Full back for Ballistics and free clear over the Punisher, and that was what I was trying to highlight. When even if Tempo gets this, they have a lot to prove left in this game. Whereas Ballistics has so much going for them. Nobody's showing themselves on the map other than Blaze there for Tempo Storm, questioning are they gonna go for the back door here? Because Ballistics not shown yet. Cattle sees Jung Ha with the transition through mid. Keeps starting and stopping those backs just in case the back door is the call.
So tense right now.
Infinite Archon's going to go to end, and Tempo Storm is going to try and spend the rest of the members to sit back and defend onto the court. This is such a tight, intense moment.
They've got it back. Oh, this is the bait, the back and forth.
The
Ballistic playing the same game. Can Glaurung get the dismount? We see Psalm actually picked up that camp.
Ariel Ballin made it back.
Will help.
Along with Zarya as well. Jung Ha able to make that Wraith
If
walk.
they save the keep here, this is a huge defense by Ballistics.
It is, and it's even more so when you consider the fact that that one camp that Ballistics picked up, I want to say 20 minutes ago. I know it was more like 5, but 5 minutes ago got more damage on the bottom half of this battleground than Tempo Storm did for a 25-minute Punisher.
We're 26 minutes in, and right now, the tension could not be higher. They've neutralized the mid lane, has Tempo Storm unable to do that in the top lane, and it will come down again. We'll see here in a moment on that mini-map where the next shrine will be.
Tempo
if it's bottom, it's gonna be tough. Tempo looking for a potential invade here.
They need to be very careful. They capture that Shaman camp, which time in that rotation alone would have been enough for me if I'm Ballistics to go, I might want to force this initiation. Tempo's showing here, well, I know somebody's up on the top half. They instead played a bit safer and slower here. But Tempo Storm now know that this is their window of opportunity to try and force something.
Is this another push?
They need to do some kind of siege, even if it's just securing that top keep to, again, neutralize some of the pressure, and that's where you see the information and kind of rotation up there. Not going to have enough there with those two with the oil spill out.
It'll buy them some space.
But
This is
close.
a perfect play by Tempo Storm. It couldn't have been better because that last shrine was top. They know that with the mid, they have a rotation over. Infinite Archon is out. They would be going for it. A huge stun to start this. Right now, Tempo Storm, they're jockeying for position. Catapults are here. Cattle goes in, but he gets flipped in. Glaurung trying to offer support. Bunker goes down. Salvo out, Dread.
Tempo Storm is going to try and end this game. SDE falling so low, but he gets the shield buried alive. Hits onto Psalm there, but he is actually sustaining the expulsion zone, not hitting in the way that they would like.
Shields are down.
They're holding on. Jung Ha almost falling low, but Moggy with the heals 90% onto the court. Tempo Storm is sticking around. They are holding their own. They are going to siege this game down.
They're going on right now. Moggy keeping the team alive. You can see Hooligan on it. 60% and falling. Tempo Storm, they're going in. Shields are up 50%. 20. Tempo Storm. Tempo Storm
does the impossible. They keep North America alive here at the Mid-Season Brawl. And they perform better than ever, surviving through games 1 and 2 and the mental defeat that they had to endure, showing that they have matured and evolved here.
I'm speechless. That is heartbreaking. Heartbreaking. Hooligan in tears here. The excitement on Tempo Storm, but in a victory, there is also a defeat. And for Ballistics, as you said, Dreadnought, to not finish in a top 4 is unheard of. This is one of the most unreal endings I think I would have ever expected. And for Tempo Storm, we saw the reverse sweep yesterday. We see it again today. It's unfathomable.
I'm not gonna lie, watching Hooligan there kills me. on the inside. For anybody who does not know the amount of passion that man has when he gets to land and how much pressure he puts onto his own shoulders. And with Tempo Storm, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm still in awe of what Tempo Storm was able to do, but still I'm in the same boat, a massive amount of respect over to Ballistics. And at this point, I mean, what is there else to say other than Tempo Storm doing what we knew that they were good mechanically. We knew that the decision-making and composition, things have been improving for North America. But as I said before, the mental strength has always been something that has kind of wavered, and we don't really know whether or not that's really going to show up here. And I can't help but feel like Tempo Storm is the first kind of shining light here at this iteration of Tempo Storm that we have seen, I mean, since long, long ago.
North America's hope remains, but one of Korea's best goes down. There's a lot to talk about, so we're going to send it back to Caleres and crew over at the analyst desk.
That there is. Oh my God, what a way to finish this series. 3-2, Tempo Storm. A reverse sweep yesterday from Fnatic, a reverse sweep today from Tempo Storm. The hashtag mid-season magic is alive and well here for the mid-season brawl. Everyone back here is absolutely losing it when it comes to the final moments of that game. Tetcha, that was utterly brilliant.
I was watching that backstage shaking. It was so difficult to watch that. When that final core attempt came in, I was so unsure whether they could do it. But both of these teams' sustain was insane.
I mean, this is probably going to go down as one of my favorite moments in Heroes of the Storm history, just because of the tension of the series, the storyline that happened through groups. And Ballistics lost to Genji, but otherwise the only games they dropped this tournament were against Tempo Storm. They're Bane, they couldn't defeat them. They were up 2-0 and they still couldn't do it.
Right.
Against this team that's so energetic and they've got the crowd behind them. I feel like this is, you can't write stories like this.
Let's take a look at our top 3 players from the series. I don't know how you pick 3
I
players.
wish I could have had 12 as we head into the first one here. It is one of the first ones where Ballistics really started to step up into the game. It's the fight we had earlier where this incredible choke point just ruins Tempo Storm. It's such a good angle of engage, such a good fight choice by Ballistics for the first replay here. But like I said, there was just so many could have picked. This one's just a little bit of fun. We saw it earlier as Fan
it was good.
pulls a clutch escape just in time with the fly, granting the unstoppable, still takes the damage but got out. And as if there could have been anything else, as Tempo Storm move onto the core, huge sustain. The Shield of Hope from Ariel earlier on in that fight was insane. But Tempo Storm, they're sustained just too much for Ballistic.
Well, of course, let's head over to Heku as well, who is ready with an interview. I'm sure everyone wants to hear from Tempo Storm.
James, this was an insane series. Zarya might be the strongest woman in Russia, but she was not strong enough to carry Ballistics. Can you explain this series to me?
It started out great for us in the sense that we controlled the first 2 games really hard, but it went really badly since we threw those games really hard, and then we were pretty much on the back foot for the rest of the game and had to play really clean, but we managed to keep calm, keep everything together, and then win that last game somehow.
In that first game on Towers of Doom, what went wrong? Is it Ballistics who outplayed you, or you just made too many mistakes?
It was just more on our end. I think they started pressuring us pretty hard. We just kind of got out of sync a little bit and just got a little miscoordinated, and then I ended up staggering everyone, and then we died over and over, and then the game just slowly fell apart, but we were able to reset off it and then, win.
Well, this is not the last game for you for today. You will still need to play against last year's Mid-Season Brawl's champions or the first seed of Europe. Like, I'm not putting any pressure, but who do you think you'll have to face?
Oh, it's really hard to say. I think they're neck and neck right now, but seeing as how it usually goes, I think Dig will end up taking this next series and that we'll play Dig, but Fnatic could be there too, I'm not sure.
But if it will be Fnatic, will it be an epic match to see you play against Fnatic? Like, it will be a 5-game map?
Probably, yeah. I expect pretty much most series to go to 5 games now, just because everyone's really close.
Okay, thank you very much for the interview. Boys, can you explain what happened?
It's not easy, but it did indeed happen here for the Mid-Season Brawl. It's a moment that's going to go down in history for Heroes of the Storm. And Skimmy, I mean, overall, what a phenomenal end to that series, especially for North America.
I mean, for the North American fans, it has to feel fantastic to start off 2-0 down and then to come back with that reverse sweep, making it a 3-2. I mean, we talk about emotions, we talk about nerves. I feel like nerves really were the deciding factor, especially in that final part of the game, where you saw for about 5 minutes, people were like, do we recall? Do we stick here? Are they going to go for that backdoor? Are they going for the Punisher? Or are they going to try and go for that keep? And, you know, when they're coming in for that final push, I was like, looks like they're going to actually recall out. Then I start to see some damage go down onto that core. I'm like, hang on a minute, Tempo Storm are actually doing it. And my favorite hero, Vala, cops another loss. So these boys here apparently know what they're talking about.
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Let's take a look at the bracket, of course, to confirm the suspicions of everyone when it comes to moving through the brackets. There you go. Tempo Storm, 3-2 there in the lower bracket, able to take the first series of the day. And that's right, it's only the first series of the day with that 5 full games there coming out from them. They're waiting for the victor of our next series, of course, which will be Dingtas going up against Fnatic. We're not talking about that just yet. There's still tons to talk about because this was amazing. Twilight Archon lasted for about 7 years, and then I thought the game was all over when the Twilight Archon fan died up to the top, but they somehow held on.
They recovered it, and there was just so many times where June, I think, also was able to save so many people with Tranquility. You saw him at the end, just embracing Coach Color just because of how hyped that final game was. But the fact is, everyone from Tempo Storm did a great job of saving each other. Blaze especially, I do want to call out Glaurung's Blaze. The amount of times Bunker saved people from buried alive, the level 20 from Leoric was pretty clutch.
Yeah, I mean, just having it, because of the way the bunker interaction works, you can have it on the outside of the entomb. It kind of clips the entomb, and then so you can right-click on it and go through it like that. So that was a big saving grace. I think the big story really is the Twilight Archon. You get to a game that's this long, and you have Twilight Archon, you push super hard with it, as long as you can keep the Tastar alive. Like, the game scales for the heroes more than it scales for the core, right? The core just eventually cannot defend against pressure like that. You get on top of the core, you make a good call, you win the game, and that's exactly what Tempo Storm did.
And it means down in the lower bracket, we guarantee ourselves North America versus Europe later in the day to finish off the day, which is going to be very interesting indeed. Thank you very much, gentlemen. It's time for a short break here for the Mid-Season Brawl. And when we return, 2 of Europe's finest are going to go head-to-head to find out who advances on.